David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, dangerous summer weather impacting millions just as the summer getaway begins. Multiple reports of tornadoes with flash flooding threats from the plains to the Midwest. Hurricane-force winds are in the forecast. Thunderstorms sent a cabana frame collapsing into a pool party. A resort flooded out after 10 inches of rain. 40 million under severe weather alerts in the Northeast to start the work week. And a heat index of 110 degrees in the South. Our weather team is timing it all out. Also tonight, a deadly plane crash. 3 killed when a small plane went down outside Washington, D.C. What we've learned and the investigation into 2 other deadly crashes. The wild scene in Boston. A crowd surrounds an alleged carjacking suspect, holding him for police. That suspect now charged with murder for allegedly running down a pedestrian. The reflecting pool, take 2. With algae blooming and paint peeling, President Trump says the pool at the Lincoln Memorial will need to be repaired. The contractor confirms it will be drained again. The president claims without evidence that vandals caused the damage. The high-stakes talks between the U.S. and Iran now at risk of collapsing. The Iranians angered by new threats from President Trump to restart attacks on Iran if it moves to close the Strait of Hormuz. That threat came as Vice President Vance opened talks on building out the deal to end the war. The president is also raising eyebrows by posting that Britain's prime minister will resign. Why he's getting involved in that country's politics. Dangerous waves. Stunning surveillance video shows the moment a woman was swept away by a so-called sneaker wave. How she survived to tell the tale. Plus, the deadly fall. A man plunges to his death at a concert at Madison Square Garden. And how 2 women from very different backgrounds developed an unlikely friendship.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Father's Day. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with a stormy start to summer colliding with the weekend holiday travel rush. Thunderstorms are being blamed for causing this cabana frame to collapse during a pool party. At least 5 people were injured. Severe storms and dangerous flooding has overwhelmed Mississippi. Downtown Biloxi was hit with 10 inches of rain in less than 2 hours. The Biloxi River is cresting at record levels. And this dramatic image of a landspout was captured on camera by a local sheriff in Wyoming as storms move through the area. All this as millions of Americans are on the move. The TSA is warning that airports could see some of the biggest crowds of the year. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. But first, ABC's Andrew Dymburt leads us off.
Tonight, a wild start to summer with severe storms, flash flooding, and extreme heat. In Florida, a poolside celebration at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel took a dangerous turn when a cabana suddenly collapsed, injuring 5 people. At the nation's airports, the TSA is bracing for some of the busiest days of the year, with 3 million travelers expected to take to the skies to begin their summer vacations. But crowded terminals aren't the only concern tonight. Severe weather is also threatening to disrupt travel plans across parts of the country. Over in Mississippi, almost 10 inches of rain falling in downtown Biloxi in less than 2 hours. The Biloxi River cresting at record levels.
I've lived on the Gulf Coast my entire life, and I have never seen the water come up this quick, this high.
In Scott City, Kansas, torrential rain, high winds, and lightning lashing the area. And in southeast Texas, this funnel cloud touching down in the town of Tivoli. Meanwhile, dangerous heat across parts of the Southwest, temperatures in parts of Nevada above 100 degrees.
And Lindsay, the extreme heat won't be letting up. Temperatures in Las Vegas could hit 110 degrees before Tuesday. Lindsay?
Just sweltering conditions. Andrew, thank you. Let's get right to ABC's meteorologist, Leslie Lopez. And Leslie, you were saying it's not just the flooding, not just the heat, but also the possibility of tornadoes.
That's right. We had 2 warnings already go out tonight. I want to show you what's happening over here. We do have severe thunderstorm watches, also tornado watches, same places that we saw tornadoes break out over into Illinois. That was Effingham, Illinois. We have more rain on the way, even flash flood risk in the area. This is a 2 out of 5 level threat for the plains all the way out towards the Midwest. Large hail, isolated tornadoes, all very possible. And then we head out out towards the east. This all moves into that direction by tomorrow, anywhere from Charlotte, North Carolina up to southern New Jersey. The west is also dealing with some heat. So taking you out there, we're talking about triple-digit heat, anywhere from Las Vegas to Phoenix, 111 in Phoenix, and then into Portland. Temperatures on Tuesday getting into about mid-90s by that point. And I mean, that's pretty early for this summer start. So heat is on in the west.
Sizzling and a lot of activity all over the map. All right, Leslie, thank you. Now to a deadly plane crash in Maryland. 3 people were killed. A single-engine plane crashed late Saturday night near a residential area. This is just one of several deadly small plane accidents over the weekend. Here's ABC's Alex Perchet.
Tonight, investigators on the scene outside of Washington, D.C. after a small plane went down in the woods overnight near a residential area in Bowie, Maryland. The pilot and 2 passengers on board killed.
I said, oh, goodness gracious, it happened at the park. I hope everything is okay. It was tragic to hear that what happened. It's very disturbing.
Police say the plane was returning from Ocean City, New Jersey.
We believe the plane belongs to a local flight school out of Montgomery County, and we do believe the flight may have been on a training flight.
The deadly incident, just one in a weekend plagued by small plane crashes. In Ohio, a single-engine Piper crashed just outside of Cleveland on Saturday, killing 3 on board, including a father and his adult son. A family alerting first responders to the wreckage in their pasture a mile from the airport. And in rural Kentucky, authorities are working to determine the cause after an aircraft carrying 2 people went down on a farm property south of Lexington. Both people on board were killed. Authorities in Bowie say that it is a miracle that no one on the ground was hurt, Lindsay, and tonight, investigations are ongoing into all 3 fatal crashes. Lindsay?
Alex, thank you. Chaos on the streets of Boston as bystanders take matters into their own hands, restraining a carjacking suspect. The individual allegedly fled the scene of a fatal crash. Let's bring in ABC's Perry Russom. Perry?
Lindsay, the suspect in that deadly alleged carjacking is under arrest tonight in Boston after crowd intervened to help in his capture. Witnesses say a group of people swarmed the SUV after it hit a bus and grabbed the suspect out of the car, holding him down until police arrived. Police say Ibrahim Matos hit and dragged a pedestrian down a busy street south of downtown Boston. That pedestrian, a woman, was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators say Matos was involved in an earlier crash. That's when police say he carjacked a woman waiting at a car wash, pulling her out of her vehicle before he sped off. Matos is charged with murder, carjacking, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. He is set to be arraigned in court tomorrow, Lindsay.
Perry, thank you. President Trump is blaming vandals for the problems at the reflecting pool on the National Mall. He says several people have been arrested but did not provide evidence to support those claims. The multi-million-dollar renovation of the pool has been plagued by problems. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selina Wang.
Tonight, the price of President Trump's reflecting pool renovation about to climb again. The president announcing it will now have to be partially drained and blaming vandals without providing any evidence for the pool's deterioration and saying the work will begin immediately. Just days after completing the more than $16 million renovation, algae blooms turning the water green and brand new lining already peeling from the floor. Trump claiming many people have been arrested. I spoke to one, a 3-time U.S. Olympian, who said he was arrested after touching a piece of the lining that was floating in the water. He tells me, I did not remove, I did not damage, I did not rip, tear, break, destroy, or harm any part of the reflecting pool. He says he was held for 5 hours before being released and charged with destruction of government property. The National Park Service and Parks Police did not respond to ABC's requests for comment. An administration official tells ABC that as of last night, 5 individuals have been arrested for vandalism. The companies that renovated the pool were awarded no-bid contracts worth nearly $15 million, despite having virtually no federal experience doing federal contracts. And the cost to taxpayers now even higher. Park Service is paying more than $1.7 million to an Ohio company to install a nanobubble system to kill the algae. Workers also battling the green muck with vacuum pumps and strainers.
I want my money back after seeing this. I think that it was a huge waste of money to begin with, and I think our resources could be used a lot better elsewhere.
A number of people share that sentiment. Selina Wang joins us now. Selina, how much have these costs jumped?
Well, Lindsay, the president originally said that this project would cost about $1.5 million and be done in just 2 weeks. Instead, these costs have jumped to more than $16 million, and it's taken 3 months. The president's prized project so far not going as planned, Lindsay.
All right, it seems that way. Selina, thank you. Overseas now to those critical peace talks between the U.S. and Iran. Vice President J.D. Vance is heading the U.S. delegation, but those talks hit a snag as President Trump threatened to restart attacks on Tehran. The days-old peace deal was already being tested by Israel's strikes on Lebanon. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge reports now from Switzerland.
Tonight, confusion swirling around high-stakes talks in Switzerland as President Trump threatens to attack Iran just days after signing a peace agreement. Earlier today, Vice President J.D. Vance leading the U.S. delegation and striking an optimistic tone, calling the talks historic.
What the president has asked us to do is turn over a new leaf, to transform our relationship with the people of Iran.
The vice president playing down fears that Israel's continuing attacks against Iranian-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon could derail the talks and jeopardize that memorandum of understanding to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which President Trump signed just 4 days ago. On the ground in Lebanon, there is no ceasefire. New figures from Lebanese officials said 49 people had been killed in Israeli strikes in just a 24-hour period this weekend. In response, on the eve of today's crunch talks, Iran saying it was once again closing down the Strait of Hormuz. Today, President Trump firing back, telling Fox News Iran won't have a country if the critical waterway is shut down. President Trump also demanding Iran stops Hezbollah from, quote, causing trouble, posting, if they don't, we'll hit Iran very hard again, just like we did last week, only harder. And Lindsay, it's unclear tonight whether a second day of talks here in Switzerland will go ahead and whether Iran will attend. Today, Israel insisting it will not withdraw its forces from southern Lebanon. Lindsay.
Tom Sufi-Burridge from Switzerland, thank you. President Trump is now saying that Britain's embattled prime minister will resign. This is Keir Starmer is facing growing pressure from within his own party to step down. If he were to go, Britain would welcome its 7th prime minister in just 10 years. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now from London. Marcus.
Lindsay, truly an extraordinary moment. President Trump claiming that UK's Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is going to resign and writing that he's done a terrible job on immigration and energy. ABC News has learned that Starmer and Trump have not spoken this weekend, suggesting that President Trump is merely guessing. It is surprising for a host of reasons, but certainly with the UK being a close ally of the US, it has raised eyebrows. Starmer is facing domestic pressure for him to resign over plummeting popularity for his Labour Party, and everyone is watching what happens tomorrow when Starmer is expected to lay out a timeline for the next steps in his premiership. Lindsay.
Marcus, thank you. Now to the so-called sneaker wave dangers in Northern California. Tonight, a fisherwoman is speaking out after being swallowed by a terrifying wave outside of San Francisco. She says it felt like she was tumbling inside a washing machine. ABC's Jacqueline Lee has the latest.
Tonight, stunning new surveillance video shows the moment a woman is swept into the sea by a sneaker wave.
And it just swallowed me. It took me off of my ankles when I hit my head, and she just took me out. And I was like, that's it.
Bay Cadat was fishing on the beach near San Francisco when a massive wave pulls her in.
I just went with it. I didn't try to fight with it because there's no point in fighting a sneaker wave.
She vanishes for an agonizing 4 minutes, dragged about 30 feet out. Good Samaritans using a rope to pull her to safety. She was hospitalized and treated for hypothermia. It's the latest incident on the California coast, like this one where the water surges without warning. In Santa Cruz, 2 college students died after being swept off a beach while one of them napped. And in San Francisco, a mother and daughter are in critical condition after they were dragged into the Pacific as they walked along the beach.
Be very careful and never turn your back to the ocean, as these waves can sneak up on you, literally, and sweep you out into the water.
Lindsay, the National Weather Service is now extending the sneaker wave warning in Northern California through Wednesday. Lindsay.
Jacqueline, thank you. A fast-moving, wind-driven wildfire is forcing hundreds of evacuations in central Utah. The blaze, dubbed the Iron Fire, has scorched more than 1,300 acres since Friday. It's burning about 28 miles southwest of Provo. Firefighters are also battling several other fires in the state. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency as crews continue to battle flare-ups from a massive warehouse fire in Los Angeles. That fire was first reported Wednesday Wednesday afternoon. Thick smoke has spread throughout L.A. County for days. Firefighters are facing a number of hazards, though no injuries have been reported. Investigators are still looking into what caused the fire. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday. Serena Williams just made a big announcement about her future plans and the shocking images of a big rig going out of control on a highway and what happened next. Next tonight, Dashcam video shows what led to a deadly crash in Southern California. A tractor trailer veered off the right shoulder of the 210 freeway on Saturday. It then crossed 3 lanes of traffic before crossing the center divider and colliding with several vehicles. That truck ultimately jackknifed, killing a woman. More than 30 people were injured, including 6 children who were ultimately hospitalized. Tragedy at New York's Madison Square Garden. Police say a man fell to his death during a concert Saturday night. They've provided few details, but say the 51-year-old man apparently fell from an elevated position. Police say he attended the show with his wife. The concert, featuring the band Goose, did continue. The band released a statement saying they were saddened and heartbroken. Still ahead, why this Father's Day is extra special for a baseball superstar. To the index, and a scare on stage for Rod Stewart. The singer, who's 81 years old, appeared to be in distress during a concert in Utah Friday night. Video seems to show him steadying himself before a crew member brought out an oxygen tank. He told the audience he nearly fainted, but finished the concert while sitting down. Stewart has had to cancel several concerts this year due to health concerns. Next, a big announcement for tennis fans. Serena Williams will play singles at Wimbledon. She accepted a wild card invitation. The All England club posted a short time ago. This is not a drill. Williams has won Wimbledon 7 times. Now 44 years old, she recently returned to competition in doubles after nearly 4 years away from pro tennis. Some familiar faces jumped to the top of the box office. Toy Story 5 scored the biggest opening of the year and also the biggest in franchise history. The film, featuring Woody, Buzz, and Jessie, took in $160 million just in North America. Worldwide, the opening weekend tops $300 million. Toy Story 5 was produced by our parent company, Disney. And just in time for Father's Day, LA Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani and his wife have welcomed their second child, a boy. Their daughter was born last year. The couple posted an image of the baby's hands and feet in a blue blanket. Ohtani missed the Dodgers game on Friday to be with his family, but he was back in the lineup last night and even hit a home run. How's that for dad strength? When we come back, a bond transcending religion, the unlikeliest of friends, and what brought them together. Finally tonight, 2 women from very different worlds have a lesson for us all.
18-year-old Rania knows what it means to survive on very little. She grew up in Gaza. But in 2023, after Israel unleashed its military power onto Gaza in the wake of October 7th, Rania and her family felt they had no choice but to leave their home and their livelihoods. They eventually made their way to Saudi Arabia.
What did you take with you? What we could put in our pockets.
But in Saudi Arabia, as a refugee, she could not attend school.
I already lost 1 year in the war. I really need to go to school.
So she sent a message into the world, a plea for help, to Gershon Baskin, a former hostage negotiator and peace activist who also has a large social media following.
I texted him this message. I am stranded in Saudi Arabia and I'm stuck. I need help. And then he saw my message and then he posted on his account.
Thousands of miles away in New Jersey, someone saw it. Someone she likely never expected, a Jewish educator named Carol.
I had been asking the universe for something to do to help people from Gaza. The first person I reached out to was Chris Downs at Woodstock Academy. And Chris said, we have a scholarship fund for displaced students.
Rania and her parents eventually made their way to the United States, and with Carol's help, Rania was able to attend the Woodstock Academy in Connecticut.
My school was really supportive.
And slowly, the girl who arrived carrying loss began to build something new, a voice powerful enough to receive a standing ovation last weekend after she was chosen to give a speech at her high school graduation.
I invite you to tell your stories and use your voice, not just for yourself, but for everyone whose voice are not heard.
A Palestinian refugee and a Jewish American grandmother, bound not by politics, but by something stronger, compassion.
leading by example. Thanks for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted, most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.